And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
Greg writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com on the subject of illegal dumping in Los Angeles. Don't you worry, guys. Karen Bass is aware, and she's on it like fries on rotting produce.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the publisher of The Flash Report. You can get him online at flashreport.org and follow him on X at Flash Report. He also does a Substack that you can subscribe to. All of that information is over there. Jon Fleischman, welcome.
Hey, I'm glad to be with you. It's kind of funny with that lead-in that you had. I was just reading this morning that apparently there's some alleyway or street in Los Angeles where they dump produce, and there's superhuman-sized rats running around there. So I'm sure that's what Mayor Bass is focused on.
Oh, the rats at this portion of downtown Los Angeles where all the rotting produce is, they're bigger than the ones in Anaheim.
Well, there you go.
All right. Well, John, we had some good news for a change this morning. It's been a rough week with news regarding the assassination of Charlie Kirk at a university in Utah. But on Fox and Friends today, President Trump went on and said that there was an arrest that was made, and the authorities now believe they have the man who is responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk in custody. And the governor of Utah said that politics was the motivation here, which is no surprise, I think, to any of us. But when you look at the profile that's being written about this young man who was arrested and believed to be responsible for the shooting, it's sad because he looked like a normal kid. He looked like he came from a normal family. And then at some point, and I don't know if it was the internet or his college professors or what, someone or something radicalized him and poisoned his brain. And now we have the man that we have today.
Yeah, it's really something else. I guess he's the son. Did I read that his dad's in law enforcement even? So,
his dad's in law enforcement, and his dad was the one that turned him in.
Yeah, well, maybe he'll get the $100,000 reward, and he can donate it to Charlie's widow and their family. So
that would be a good idea.
But yeah, it's whenever this happens, whenever a person is discovered having done a heinous thing, and you look at the person, they're not obviously weird. It's a reminder that this kind of radicalization is not just happening to extreme people. It's happening in your neighborhood. It's happening to someone you know, and it's really scary stuff. It really is. And of course, this has just been a tragic incident. You know, this whole murder, assassination of Charlie Kirk it's kind of given me a bit of PTSD from when we lost Andrew Breitbart, which has now been some time ago. Of course, with a horrible, evil twist, Andrew died, of course, of unknown heart condition that he had, and so he was lost. But the similarity begins in that here was another person who was at the vanguard of the cultural movement in America, trying to protect America from being taken by these radical extremists. And I only bring it up because I do think that there are a lot of people that have been touched by the life of Charlie Kirk, by his infectious, the way that he communicated, the way that he motivated people. And I think all those people are going to step up and do incredible things in Charlie's name. And I think this I don't know, can I say in the air? I think I just did. I'm sure.
No.
Do I have to start over?
Well, you can just say bad guy.
I won't say, okay. Well, that really bad, horrible kid whose name I can't really properly annotate because of rules and regulations. I think that he is going to get the opposite of what he intended. I think that he shot Charlie Kirk because he didn't believe in what Kirk believed in, and I think that he's going to find out there are millions of people out there that are going to pick the mantle, and he will have made a martyr out of Charlie. I really think it's going to happen, just like Andrew Breitbart's dream of fighting for American culture was on steroids after he died, because so many people said, we're going to do this for you, Andrew. And I think a lot of people are going to do it, Charlie.
I want to run a poll by you because I think the results are pretty disturbing. According to YouGov, 77% of Republicans believe it is always unacceptable to feel joy at the death of someone they oppose, while only 38% of Democrats share this view.
Huh. Yeah, that. First and foremost, actually, I'm actually kind of disappointed with the Republican numbers, because I really don't think we should be, really. We want our opponents to lose. We don't want our political opponents to die. But the Democrat numbers are really awful, and they really kind of tell you a startling, a startling reality, which is that our culture is being radicalized right in front of our eyes, and it should make everybody worried. I mean, John, you're on the radio all the time. Do you have a protection detail?
Well, I'm in a hotel with a bunch of MMA fighters, so I'll count them.
Well, that'll help you out for now, but at some point you're going to be back to home, and I guess maybe I'm making a broad point, which is that some of the leaders in America that are ideological and idea people are elected officials. You're not getting near. I shouldn't say you're not getting near Donald Trump. They try to take him out, but the point being, a lot of people have protection. Charlie Kirk was just a guy. And he was speaking in a place where ostensibly free speech is supposed to be not only sanctioned, but is supposed to be encouraged. And you get shot there, and it has a chilling effect on the First Amendment, use of the First Amendment, everyone in the country. I mean, I looked on my calendar to see, when am I supposed to be speaking to a group next? And what does that mean? And multiply that by hundreds of thousands of people. And now you got to throw survey data at it that tells me that maybe if somebody shot me, there'd be a bunch of left-wing Democrats who just wouldn't be disappointed.
I don't know what your experience has been, but on my own personal social media accounts, after the assassination took place, I saw a number of people on the opposite side of the aisle gloating, end zone dancing, spiking the football. And I noticed a pattern, and I saw on social media other conservatives posting about this too, so it's not just something that's unique to me, that many of the worst offenders on my timeline, on my feed, were teachers, they're in healthcare, they're government workers. The teachers in particular were the worst ones by far, and that's awful for the culture, because you have people who are toxic, who are trying to make the kids just as toxic as them.
Well, and it kind of highlights something I was reading about lately, since we are in the California hour, right? So this highlights for me that, we've got this state California Teachers Association in California, which is full of toxically ultra-progressive left-wing people. I wouldn't be surprised if they passed a resolution of some sort that was a backhanded, acknowledgement that, somebody may have done something good here. They're just awful, and they are terrible. And it's just a reminder that we need to be, I send my kids to private school because I don't even trust California's public school anymore. But you're drawing the wrong kind of, these are the people that are in charge of safeguarding the proper education of our children, and to the extent that our kids are in their custody, especially young children, a massive percentage of their lives. These people are also kind of charged with their moral upbringing, and the idea that they would be on my feed, your feed, sharing this kind of hate is just really never mind. Just I'd have a problem with a teacher who thought that the very patriotic and things that Charlie were saying were a problem. Just the fact that Charlie was saying to America things bothers them, but then that they would actually also demonstrate some sort of acceptance or glee or somewhere in between about the guy getting assassinated, and then they're going to go into a classroom and teach our children it's beyond the pale. It's really bad.
Can you imagine how hostile the work environment must be if you're a conservative or a moderate teacher, or you're just someone without really a passion for politics, but you just try to play it straight, how awful those working conditions must be for you right now?
Last weekend, I was at the state Republican Party convention. There weren't many people there, but I was there. And when I was at the convention, I talked to a teacher because he told me, hey, I was in the L.A. Unified School District, and I asked, are you in the union? And he said, well, I guess technically I'm in the union because I tried to opt out of the union, and it was like I was a pariah everywhere on campus. And I asked him this question. I said, so are you allowed to be normal at school? Can you talk about the things you believe in? And he says, in theory, I could, but you just wouldn't, because you'd be that person who no one would sit at your table at lunch, because all of the teachers all gang up and create an environment where you don't feel comfortable if you're a conservative teacher on campus. So your instinct is correct, and now I've got at least an anecdotal corroboration from somebody who taught at a high school in Central Los Angeles.
I have a friend who called me the other night after the assassination, and she team teaches with another teacher. And the other teacher and her were working on the lesson plan for the next day. And he said that he wanted to do a lesson about Charlie Kirk and teach the kids that Charlie Kirk's words directly led to his assassination, and he was at fault. And that was the takeaway from what happened at that university in Utah. And she said, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to do that. You're absurd. And the guy went to management and complained against her and accused her of a hostile work environment because she wouldn't sign on to that lesson plan. And the argument that he gave as to why it wasn't safe is because she is a gun owner, and she's revealed that at some point in the past. And the fact that she has such extreme political beliefs that she's unwilling to move forward with this lesson plan, and she's a gun owner, means that she is a threat to him and the kids.
Sometimes it's too much. I wish you had less content for this program, John, because it's really something else. And I'm in a text group with a few other people, and they're not all conservatives. And one guy in my text group, he was kind of making fun of me, but all of a sudden he's like, John, I just wanted to let you know, he hates the Dodgers. I love the Dodgers. I'm there for you. and he happens to be black. And he was kind of like making a point of like, hey, look at the crazy white people that are shooting people. And I'm like, oh my God, it's all too much. It's all crazy. So, I think right now we just kind of need to be focused on staying together and remembering that this experiment called America is worth fighting for. It's worth dedicating our time and energy to protect. It's not perfect. It's the greatest place that there is. I will tell you, like Charlie Kirk, like you do every single day, debating in this country and exchanging ideas and convincing people that you're correct and that they're wrong, or they're trying to convince you the other way around. That's the American way. And it's probably the saddest tragedy of the loss of Charlie Kirk is that he himself has said so many times that America is a place where we use words and ideas as our foil. That's how we battle. We battle over ideas, and we eschew violence. And then he gets gunned down by some complete idiot who, I don't know, etches. What's the story? Maybe you followed it more than I do, that there was stuff on the actual bullet casings. Have you followed that story?
Yeah, there's some speculation that may have had something to do with a video game or something beyond his own personal politics. I don't know. I'm sure that in a short period of time we'll have a very complete political profile of this guy, but I haven't seen it. But yeah. I was speaking to a room full of people this morning, so what do I know?
Well, like you said, it's a good thing that you've got professional fighters around you to protect you there. Just remember, if you go to a wrestling convention, it's not quite the same thing. But if you're did you say you're at an MMA event?
Well, I'm here for a different event, but they have a big MMA fight here in town, and it seems that every third person in the lobby in the casino of this hotel is an MMA fighter, and the rest of them are rappers here to watch.
Well, there you have it. So, the whole thing is much, and then all of this is happening and distracting everyone from the fact that right now we're in the final week of the California legislative session. I was just writing for this afternoon a whole commentary about how, once again, Gavin Newsom and a couple of other legislative leaders went in a back room and figured out how to extract another $20 billion from you, from me, and taxpayers to fund his favorite project, the California high-speed rail. And it's like you may as well take our money, put it in a pile, put kerosene on it, and light it on fire. But yet, Gavin Newsom is committed to this project with the intensity of someone who, I don't know, gets lots of millions of dollars from public employees and private unions that are all working on the train to nowhere.
Well, I can tell you this, that's a mistake, because anything he does that highlights that failure is a loser for him as a presidential candidate. It makes him look ineffective, and it makes him look like he's unwilling to acknowledge reality.
Well, I think this is the situation in which we find ourselves. He has now figured out that his audience in running for president is not you, me, or middle America or swing voters. He's looking at about 3,500 wackadoodle left-wing delegates to the 2028 Democrat National Convention. And he's I finally figured out it doesn't matter what I believe or what I do if I'm not the nominee of my own party. And so because of that, he is just positioning himself as somewhere left of crazy. And because of it, it's kind of a weird deal. But California, believe it or not, the legislature's been so crazy that he has kind of almost been like adult supervision. And when I say that, it means that, if the legislature puts 2,000 bills on his desk every year, he might actually veto about 100 of them. And some of them are really bad bills. And I think this year his incentive structure, because he's focused on those delegates, is to sign everything. And I think he's more interested in the money that he gets from the various unions that are building the high-speed rail to nowhere, the the millions of dollars that they're putting in the campaign account to fund his campaign on the redistricting of California. He cares more about that than he cares about, what's the bad look of supporting high-speed rail. The good news is if he becomes the nominee for the Democrat Party in 2028, boy, we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk to the voters about, because middle America and swing voters, and I think, frankly, a lot of Democrats are going to be looking at this guy and realizing how extreme he is. But
we'll need to do 4 hours and not 3. John, we're out of time. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great weekend.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Jon Fleischman,
keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Publisher of the Flash Report. You can get him online at FlashReport.org and follow him on X at Flash Report. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to listen to us after we sign off today at 3, that's easy to do.
After 3 hours, you still want more of this? What's wrong with you? I'm just kidding. Listen to it all you want. Search for The Jon Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether you're listening to Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The Jon Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do a Google on the YouTube. Get the KABC app. Get the KSFO app. Get the KMJ Now app. We're on that station Saturdays from 2 to 3 in the Central Valley. There are so many different ways to listen to this station, to listen to this show, and you can listen anywhere, whether you're driving in your car or you're sitting on a bus.
I love the bus driver.
And if you want to ride the bus to see us in person next Friday, Randy, that's easy to do.
No, it's not, but driving there is. I don't know if there's really a good way to take public transit to get to the middle of Van Nuys. I mean, I guess you
I thought it was Sherman Oaks.
Well, you're right. It is Sherman Oaks, but you got to get to Van Nuys Boulevard. I guess you could take the Orange Line, except that's the one that there was that stabbing the other day, so I don't think you want to take that. You know what? Take a car or take an Uber. Waymos don't go to the
that's for the
Valley
best.
yet, so don't take that. But anyway, we're going to be at Pineapple Hill in Sherman Oaks on Friday, September 19th. That's a week from today, from noon to 3. We were there 3 years ago. It was actually the first remote we did after COVID, and it was a good time, even though it was so windy that a hole blew open in the tent. But that's not going to happen this time. Beautiful covered patio there in the back of Pineapple Hill. We love that spot. Angela's going to take great care of you. We're going to be there live from noon to 3. You're going to have lunch. You're going to have a drink or two. Maybe, up to you. And we'll have special guests like Susan Shelley from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. The courts have made it easier to raise your taxes, so come by, hang out with us, and sign the petition to save Prop 13 so you can still afford to live in this state. Next Friday, noon to 3, Pineapple Hill and Sherman Oaks. We'll see you there.
So, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, who is currently a candidate for governor, was just endorsed by the current mayor of L.A., Karen Bass.
Wait, this guy?
No, peanut.
That guy.
He got endorsed by this lady?
If you're feeling down, if you're feeling blue, let's get help for you.
Well, you know what they say, Randy. You only need cosigners if your credit is bad.
So just think about this. In the past 2 decades, we went from this.
No, peanut.
How could it possibly get worse? Then we had like 11 years of this.
I've received things on both ends.
How could it possibly get worse? And now we've had 3 years of this.
It's not a namsy-pamsy thing.
Mayor Mother Goose.
And I would dare to say she's the worst of all of them.
I think you're right. In fact, as much as it pains me to say this, I think of those 3, Villaraigosa was probably the best.
Crime was a lot better than it was under Garcetti or Bass. He didn't plant those 1,000 trees, but he was too busy going to Laker games to really destroy the city.
Well, I guess among those 3, he's the tallest building in Omaha.
Let's hear more about Karen Bass endorsing, to use her term, her brother from another mother, Antonio Villaraigosa, not his name.
Good evening. I'm Micah Ullman. A crowded race, now an early endorsement as Los Angeles Mayor.
How do you think she knew him back in the 70s? Tony Tattoos?
Oh, I'm sure she had some kind of nickname for him.
Because Tony used to play around with those muscle cars.
How tatted up do you think he is?
Well, you'll never see him in short sleeves.
Okay, so that means his entire body is covered.
Yep.
Good evening. I'm Micah Ullman. A crowded race, now an early endorsement as Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass throws her support behind former LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa in the 2026 race for governor.
And that's not the only one this week. This morning, Barbara Boxer said she's all in for Tony V.
Okay, so he's got the old lady vote.
KTLA's Lindsay.
I guess she doesn't like Katie Porter either.
Nobody does.
Poor Katie. What'd she ever do to anybody?
Little D.
Well, she slam dunked a pot of potatoes on her ex.
There was that.
KTLA's Lindsay Pena live in the news center with the political implications of today's announcement. Lindsay?
Is there one person in the state of California with the IQ low enough to be motivated to vote for someone because Karen Bass said you should?
I think it's a party of one. And the name is Karen Bass, and that's it.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, Micah, share. With Kamala Harris deciding last month not to run, the race to replace Governor Gavin Newsom, who is termed out after 8 years next year, is wide open.
She decided, I'm going to write a book, and no one's going to read it.
This not only tells you, by the way, that they all hate Katie Porter, it also tells you they all hate Javier Becerra.
Who?
Because he's been around a long time.
Oh, you mean Baccaria?
For Secretary of Health
yes.
and Education Service, I nominated Javier Baccaria.
The scrub guy.
That guy.
And even though it's still...
Well, wasn't it Pelosi, the earliest thing that pissed her off with Biden was Biden appointing him to Health and Education Secretary, which isn't a job, without consulting her because she would have told Biden that he's an idiot.
Yes, and that made its way into one of the books about that election.
We love everybody.
No, you don't.
And even though it's still early, many see this Bass endorsement as a way for Villaraigosa to gain some momentum in an already crowded field.
He got enough money, he produced a real commercial instead of just standing with an iPhone in front of a Target stand.
Are you sure it's an iPhone and not a flip phone?
Mayor Karen Bass officially endorsing former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa for California governor Tuesday morning here in L.A.'s Crenshaw district.
We need a leader like Antonio Villaraigosa to be.
That's not even how you pronounce his fake name.
Well, if it's a fake name, can you really criticize her for not pronouncing it correctly?
That's why I don't get upset if anyone pronounces my name incorrectly.
Wait, you're not from a long line of Wangs?
Nope.
We need a leader like Antonio Villaraigosa to be the next governor of California.
You're going to see a man who's going to roll up his sleeves and work with.
Wow, we're going right into the cliches.
Well, we thought we could avoid that since Rob Bonta took a pass, but I guess we're going to get it anyway.
You're going to see a man who's going to roll up his sleeves and.
He doesn't roll up his sleeves.
No, because then he'd show us the tats.
You're going to see a man who's going to roll up his sleeves and work with everybody.
Although the announcement was expected, political analyst Matt Klink says what wasn't necessarily anticipated was how early it came.
It's still a long time before the June 2026 primary, so this is going to build some really important momentum for the Villaraigosa for governor campaign.
Momentum? No, it won't.
Who is going to start writing checks because Karen Bass endorsed him? Who?
Momentum in an already crowded race, especially among the Democrats.
Whomever comes out of the primary in first place as a Democrat is likely to be the next governor of the state of California.
Well, yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, it's a one-party state.
Early polls show former Representative Katie Porter leading the growing field of Democratic candidates, followed by Villaraigosa and former HHS Secretary Javier Becerra. With months to go before any ballots are cast, there's also talk of L.A. developer Rick Caruso throwing his hat in the ring.
There cannot be a rap about the governor's race without somebody just suggesting maybe Caruso could run, because we'd all like to see those commercials.
Well, we'd like to see those commercials. However, the only subjects that he seems interested in are L.A. city subjects. If that's what motivates you, you should run for mayor, not governor.
He tried that last time.
Well, try it again.
I think he would face an easier time being elected statewide than he would running for mayor of Los Angeles.
I think that's accurate. I think it's easier to run for governor than to try to defeat Karen Bass.
Well, here's the problem, though. There's one event that could take place that would prevent him from getting on the November ballot that he has no control over. If Donald Trump endorses one of the Republican candidates, that candidate is going to make it on the November ballot. And if you're Rick Caruso and you're running as a Democrat, but you're going to need Republican votes to get on that November ballot, you need Donald Trump to stay out of the race.
But again, he is being very, very coy with what his plans are.
And notable buzz around Senator Alex Padilla.
No, there is not buzz around Alex Padilla.
How many people, and I ask this question all the time, but seriously, think about it. How many people, if he were standing on Sunset Boulevard, how many people would recognize him out of the first 100 that passed by him?
You could put him in his old district in Van Nuys Boulevard. Nobody knows who he is.
It would be less than 5.
He has a free ride, meaning that his Senate seat is not up in 2026. So if he doesn't win.
The only reason that he is thinking about running is two things. One, like they just said, he can run and it doesn't jeopardize his current job. And two, if there's some insane idea of he runs for governor so he can appoint Gavin to be senator.
Well, there's no point to run for governor unless you want to be president. And I don't know him, so I don't know how delusional he is. But he would have to be delusional to think that he's going to be the president.
If he doesn't win, he just goes back to the Senate.
On the Republican side, polls show Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco and former Fox News host Steve Hilton out front. Klink says in a state where the Republican Party is the third most popular party behind the Democrats and declined to state, anyone on that ticket will have a tough go of it.
It's more likely that an independent candidate who is center or center left would have a better shot at getting elected statewide than a candidate with an R behind her or his name.
Quick reminder now.
What evidence exists that says that that's true? A bunch of them run all the time and none of them win.
Well, they're political consultants. They're about as accurate as people who bet on horse races.
The last non-Democrat to win a statewide race was Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was a Republican. And Steve Poizner did it, and he was a Republican. There have been no decline to state or no party preference candidates to win statewide races since then.
Quick reminder now on how primaries work in California. Whoever the top two vote getters are next June is who'll be on the ballot in November, regardless of party affiliation. Micah, back to you.
So there's the latest on Antonia Villaraigosa picking up the coveted Karen Bass endorsement.
No!
Well, now that the presidential campaign is over and it's time to cash in writing books, Kamala Harris is out with her book about the election, where apparently she throws Grampy Joe under the bus.
Well, everyone else already did. It was probably time for her to do it as well. Here is the initial reaction to some of the excerpts of the book that no one's going to read. Here's ABC 7 in the Bay.
And now to more breaking news on Midday Live. Former Vice President, former Democratic presidential candidate, and Bay Area native Kamala Harris is not holding back any longer.
In excerpts out this morning from her explosive new memoir, she calls the...
No one's calling it explosive.
No. The books about the election that were explosive were Tappers and the book Fight.
She calls the Democratic leadership reckless for allowing President Biden to make the decision alone on running for re-election. And she has sharp words for Biden's inner circle for not defending her. These are the most critical words Harris has had about her former boss and his staff after she replaced him at the top of the ticket and suffered a crushing defeat to President Trump.
I don't think she's getting invited to Christmas dinner.
Well, I don't think they ever liked her to begin with.
Nope.
ABC 7 News reporter Zach Fuentes has been speaking to political experts and has more about some of what is in Harris's sure-to-be controversial new book. Good morning, Zach.
Yeah, good morning to you guys. In that excerpt published in The Atlantic, the former vice president and Bay Area native not only called it recklessness for the Democratic Party and the Biden family to let President Biden run for re-election, she also spoke about challenges she had with Biden's staffers. That book is called 107 Days. It's set to come out later this month. Now, in an excerpt, she said, quote, "During all those months of growing panic, should I have told Joe to consider not running? Perhaps, but the American people had chosen him before in the same matchup. Maybe he was right to believe that they would do so again."
So she's as wishy-washy in the book as she was in person.
And that's part of the reason that she's not the president.
Harris went on to say that party leaders left a choice for Joe Biden to run for re-election up to only him and First Lady Joe Biden. She calls that move a miscalculation. And also, in taking aim at the White House inner circle at the time,
I don't really see what's explosive here.
No, she stated the obvious. Maybe her stating the obvious is explosive to some.
And also,
but the rest of us have been aware of this for a while.
And also, in taking aim at the White House inner circle at the time, she accused some aides of treating her as a threat to the president. One political analyst I spoke with said that based on the excerpts released, the vice president's book is really giving an insight into the 2024 presidential campaign that we hadn't seen before.
But pretty much everyone who's already diagnosed the 2024 election isn't going to learn anything from her book.
And the fact that they didn't trust her, when was it that Leo Terrell came on this program and said that she's under his bed with an ice pick?
That was in 2020.
That's what I thought.
Harris coming out now and saying this was reckless.
Here, you want the Cliff's Notes version of this book? Here's 107 pages why this wasn't my fault.
And please give me $22.95.
Nah.
Yeah, that's one book I'll be passing on. I'd rather stare at the back of some bald guy's head on a flight.